Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to walk you through this makeup look step by step. This is my special occasion spring makeup. This is what I wore for Mother's Day and I really love how it turned out. I did tweak it just a little bit for today's look when I was recreating it just because there was a couple of things that I wish I had changed when I originally wore it. I do have everything that I used listed down below in the description box if there's anything that you wanted to check out. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Because this is more of a special occasion look, I am doing a little bit more than my regular everyday routine. So I'm going to use the Makeup Forever Redness Corrector to try and neutralize some of the redness that I've got going on my cheeks. And I don't use this all over the face, I just really pat it in to the spots where I am the most red that really need to go away. And then anything else that I have left over, kind of pat over some of the more angry breakouts just to try and tone down any flare-ups. And to prime all over, I'll be using the Wonder Glow Primer from Charlotte Tilbury. I am taking a more generous amount of this primer because I do want this to go all over, but I really love the subtle natural look that it gives underneath foundation, so I really like having this as an all-over base. And I am very gently applying that on top of the Makeup Forever primer as well. For my foundation today, I'll be using the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, and I wear the shade 2N. To start, I'm only using one pump, and I'm really working that between my fingers before I start applying it. And I'm really working this pump in before I'm applying more because I don't want too many layers. Even though this is more special occasion makeup, so I'm using a little bit more makeup or a little bit heavier makeup than I normally would, I still want this to look as natural as possible or as close to natural as possible. I did my eyebrows while I was waiting for my sunscreen to dry, and now I have to be very careful not to get foundation in my eyebrows. That was probably a mistake. And I'm just going to smooth over all of that with my Real Techniques sponge. To spot conceal, I'm using the Dior Forever Skin Correct Concealer in the shade 2N. It's not a great shade match, so I am going to go over it with a little bit of my Makeup Forever Self-Setting Concealer just to tone down the little bit of a darker shade. I'm also going to dot a little bit of the Dior concealer underneath my eyes, try and flatten out the hollows. And I'm just blending that out using my Rare Beauty concealer brush. Skipping ahead a little bit, I'm going to apply a little bit of highlighter in the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I realized when I was pulling products for this video that I had a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products. It was pretty unintentional, but then when I realized I had the first three that I had pulled, I was like, well, I might as well pull whatever I have and see how well everything pairs together. So that is why it seems a little Charlotte Tilbury heavy at the moment. And I'm going to blend out the highlighter using the Real Techniques setting brush. Next, I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand, and I use the shade Fair Medium. The last time I used this, I accidentally squeezed out way too much. I'm first just taking whatever's left over on the sponge before I'm taking more out, just to make sure that I'm using whatever excess is there. And I'm going to blend out the contour using my Smith 115. And I really like pulling that down in front of my ear and slightly on top of the jawline, not just underneath it, because I do think that it really helps to make the area underneath pop, so it does look like I have more defined cheekbones, which is always what I want when I'm doing my makeup because I really don't like having just a round face. Before moving on to blush, I'm going to put on a little bit of cream bronzer. I was kind of thinking I would skip bronzer altogether because I think that this looks really nice where it is right now, but I want a little bit more of an ethereal glow, and I think that the Auric Glow Lust in the shade Pyrite will really give me what I'm looking for. So I'm going to take just a little teeny tiny bit of this and apply it just on my cheekbones. I put just the tiniest amount on my finger and I'm rubbing my two fingers together, and I'm just going to start by pressing that along my cheekbone above where I placed the contour and just kind of enhance this area. And I really like to work things between my hands and really warm it up. I feel like that really helps it apply to the skin better, especially when my skin is this dry. I feel like it really helps to really meld all of the products together and get a more seamless look. I hope that this goes without saying, but just in case, I do want to remind you that you don't need all of the products that I'm using in these tutorials. You could really use anything that you have if you were just following along. You don't need every product that I'm using. I do have them listed down below in the description box for your convenience if you wanted to follow along product by product, but truly most of the things that I'm using you could easily use other products in place of. Now moving on to blush. This is my favorite step in my makeup application, honestly, but when I am thinking of spring makeup looks and just spring in general, blush really comes to mind. So in the spring I really like blush forward looks, very heavy blush, and I really like layering them up and making a really nice gradient. So I am going to be using a couple of different blushes today. I'm going to start with the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Blush in the shade Provence. And I just put a little bit on the back of my hand, and I'm going to start by applying this a little bit low and a little bit towards the center of my face. And this is going to be my primary blush shade. But I really like this because it's more of a cool neutral tone. And this is a shade that really screams spring to me, and especially like special occasion. I don't know why. Like, it's such a specific thing, but like when I'm thinking about special occasion makeup and what shades I wanted to put together, this was the shade and the blush that I really wanted to use. And I am taking this one across the bridge of my nose. And this is a more sheer formula, so you can really just wear this as a sheer wash of color, or you can build it up a little bit. There's not like a full opacity kind of coverage that you can get from it, but it does dry down relatively quickly, so you do need to work pretty fast. If you don't want to go too heavy on the blush, you could definitely leave it where it is right now, but I am going to add a little bit more. I'm going to mix in the Tata Harper cream blush in the shade Lovely, and this one I'm going to put a little bit higher. And I'm kind of placing this in between where I put the bronzer and where I put that first blush, and I'm kind of doing like a gradient tone. And I'm going to go over all of that using my Real Techniques sponge just to make sure that everything is really pressed in. I'm going to leave the base here for now. I think it's looking really nice the way that it is, but I'm going to give it a little bit of time while I'm doing my eyes to really set down and decide what it's really going to do and what it's really going to look like, and then I can always go in with powder or more products if I need to. I am going to prime using the Lorac Behind the Scenes Eye Primer. This one reminds me a lot of the Smashbox Eye Primer with the silicone feeling and how easy it is applying to the eye. I'm going to take a clean brush. The one I'm using is the Ulta Beauty 3-in-1 Shadow Brush number 40, and I'm going to use a little bit of translucent powder and just set my crease area. For my eyes today, I'll be using the Tarte Maneater palette, and I'm going to start with the shade Purr, and I'll be using the Sephora 205 crease brush. And since I've already set this area, it's easier to blend the eyeshadow on top of without it getting patchy or messy. And I'm looking down into my mirror so that I've got full access to this area. On my Smith 230, I'm taking the shade Saucy, and I'm going to start building this up in the outer corner as well as the crease. I'm first pushing that down on the outermost part of my eye, because that's where I want the most pigmentation to be. And once I feel like I've gotten most of that shadow off of my brush, then I'll start blending that upwards and towards the crease. I'm taking my Sigma E27 in the shade Midnight, and I'm really building up that depth in the outer corner. And first I'm placing this closest to the lash line to really emphasize that area. If you wanted to leave the eye look here, you definitely could. You could keep it looking as is, or you could take the shade Passion from the Maneater palette and put that on the lid space that we didn't put any other eyeshadow on, or you could use any of the shimmer shades that are in this palette and really brighten up that area as well. But to complete the look today, I am going to use a cream eyeshadow. When I did this look originally for Mother's Day, I did just use the shade Passion, and I patted that on the inner 2/3 of the eye where I didn't have any other product. As the day went on, I did decide that I wanted to add in a little bit of shimmer, so I did go in with a combination of the cream eyeshadow from Charlotte Tilbury that I'm going to be using, as well as a topper shade from the Natasha Denona Glam palette, but you could definitely build the look up to your taste if that was something that you're interested in doing. I'm going to take the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize cream eyeshadow in the shade Champagne, and I'm going to apply that with a Smith 253. I'm starting in the center of the eye because that's where I want it to be the most glossy looking. And as I'm pressing it, I'm trying to press it towards the inner portion of my eye and not towards the outer portion. I want the outer portion to remain very dark and more matte with less of this cream shade on top of it. So as I'm applying it, I am trying to work it towards the inner corner. I'm also going to take a little bit of the shade on the side of the brush and put that underneath on the lower lash line. I'm going to go back in real quick with the Sigma E27 in the shade Midnight and reinforce that outer corner where the shimmer shade may have made its way over, and kind of wiggle across the line where they meet. I'm going to go back in with the original brush, the Ulta Beauty number 40 that had the translucent setting powder on it, and just kind of go over all of the edges and really just soften those up. I'm going to take my Sigma E15 and do a little bit of a mixture of the shade Midnight and Catcall, and just define that outer corner a little bit more. Because this is a special occasion makeup, I am going to use my Melt All Day Every Day eyeliner in the shade Columbia that has been discontinued, but you could use any kind of rich brown eyeliner if you wanted to keep the soft glam vibe of the makeup look. And I'm going to tightline my upper lashes, and I am really working that in between them. It's your preference what you want to do on the lower lash line. If you want to make this a little bit more sultry, you could take the brown liner and extend it on the lower lash line, or you can use a white or a nude liner in the lower lash line as well, and you could have more of a doe-eyed look. I think I'm just going to focus a little bit of the eyeliner on the outer waterline. I'm going to take my Rephr eyelash curler and really make sure I'm curling my lashes. If I was someone that wore false lashes, this is a look that I would put them on. But honestly, I'm just not a false lashes kind of person these days. I'm going to be using the ColourPop Act Natural Defining Mascara in the shade Brown, but you could go in with whatever mascara you like. I just really like brown for liner and lashes all the time, but especially on more soft glam kind of looks. And I'm starting that at the base of the lashes, and I'm using the mascara wand to kind of add an additional lift and really pushing backwards and adding a little bit of tension to try and make sure that the lashes are going to hold that curl. I try not to make my lower lash line too dark because my eyes are deep set. It can look very dark because of the shadows I already have underneath my eyes. So I do just a very light coating of lower lash mascara using the same mascara that I'm using on the top lashes. I just realized I forgot to do my inner corner and brow bone highlight, so I am going to go back into the Maneater palette and mix the shades Lace and Passion, and I'm using my Eco Tools Accent Detail Brush, and I'm just very lightly placing that on the inner corner and brow bone. And here are the eyes all finished. For lip liner, I'm going to use the Becca Ultimate Lip Definer in the shade Low Maintenance. And I'm tracing my lip line upwards to get a more rounded effect. And for lipstick, I'm using MAC Blankety. Patting along the lip line and diffusing any edges. And here's the look all finished. Let me know, what do you think of this look? Do you like the soft glam vibes, or are you more interested in more natural looks, or do you like to go full glam for special occasions? I don't like a really heavy base, so this is pretty much perfectly what I would like on a special occasion. Let me know if there are any other spring looks you'd like to see tutorials on, or if there's any specific products that you'd like to see me use. But that is going to be all from me today. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again very soon in my next video.
Is that it?